like to welcome you all back to another Raised on Real Estate podcast. Greg Angelo and Brock Zevan are coming into you on this great day, Tuesday, February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Nice to have you all back here with us. It's just an absolutely gorgeous day right here in North Carolina. The weather is just absolutely beautiful. We feel sorry for those of you that are kind of like dealing with the snow. Friends up in Michigan, but Groundhog Day, and we got Brock Zevan with us. What's going on, brother?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Great day for a podcast.
Every day is a good day for a podcast.
Where was the groundhog at today?
Did he see a shadow? I don't know if he saw it. Did he?
Well, let's find out. I think we got something that's going to go with that one.
Ice in my veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the...
Ooh, is it?
Yep,
Wow.
6 more weeks.
Remember when I lived up in New York, we lived by that. I'd be like, oh gosh, another 6 more weeks? That's terrible. Down here, it's like 6 weeks from now, the leaves will be all in the trees.
All right. We want to welcome you all back to our Raised on Real Estate podcast. Brock is here with us for another episode, and we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, first, I can't believe we're already on the second episode of you and I being together. So that's pretty, boy, time flies, I tell you that. But so today we're going to talk a little bit. I'm reading the book No Excuses by Brian Tracy, and we talked about it about 2 weeks ago, about the psychosomatic stress that goes on to people in their daily life and what happens to them with their health. And next thing you know, you text me and you're like, that's our next podcast. So here we are with that. And so we're going to touch a base on the psychosomatic. We're going to touch base a little bit about what stress, anger, carrying that negativity through you does to you in all levels of your life, business, personal, relationships, your kids, all that stuff.
So you're saying that when you get mad that it's not healthy for you? Is that kind of like what you're saying?
Let's just say I don't have a very good resume when I got mad or said things I shouldn't be saying because I did that knee-jerk reaction on emotion instead of taking the steps that I've learned now of, and we'll share it later, of just pausing, reflecting, even having to tell your significant other, like, you know what, I need a little bit of time before I want to make that response, because time has a way of always calming things down. But it's not healthy. I can tell you that.
Okay. So those of you who are tuning in, we really appreciate you coming back. We want to thank all of our listeners who have been checking us out. Say it all the time, and we really appreciate those of you who have gone on our platforms in many different places to subscribe to our podcast. And it's interesting too because Spotify had put us up there. We really like that, and so we're going to sort of like craft this podcast for this sort of segment because we know even in our industry in real estate that it's very easy to get upset and get angry, and not just with what happens in our transactions, but really like in our daily lives when things don't go our way. And I think that it makes a lot of sense to have this sort of topic because, how do we deal with stress? How do we deal with anger? Is there an outlet that we can have for it? Do we need to get counseling for it if it gets to be a huge problem? Because you can carry that with you all day. And I think one of the things that you said this week, like during our morning motivational calls, is sometimes things that we deal with in our lives can consume us, consume our thoughts. And so if something is really upsetting you, you're thinking about it all day, and you've got other things that you want to do that need to be productive, like making phone calls or taking care of your transaction. And so how do you now? I mean, you've dealt with this before. How are you dealing with stress and things like that becomes, maybe it's more positive for you now?
So the first thing I'll say to you, though, in reference to just to get that vision, but also to get that feeling inside, this analogy I give you is going to be very unique in a way, but I think we all can relate to it. Stress and this negativity that you carry with you the entire day, it's almost like going to the grocery store when you're completely hungry. And it doesn't matter when you start your grocery shopping, all the way to the end of it, you're hungry still, and it stays with you. It doesn't like leave you because like, all right, I picked up some of the produce sections and my cart's full now. It doesn't mean my stomach's full. I carry it with me. I go through all the aisles. And how do we shop when we're hungry? We want to buy more things. Oh, let's get this. Let's get this. And we carry all this into us. And that hunger stays with us all the way till we get to the cash register. And they're like, did you get everything you need? And we're like, I got a little bit too much. I don't even know why I got half the food I got. But the reason is you just came into it hungry. And you didn't set yourself up, because if you came in there full, you would have shopped differently, right? It's the same thing with starting your day. If you don't fill up your mind with positive energy, with reading, with positive mindset, you will take it the rest of your day, that negativity, and it won't go away until you fill it back up. Then you get it to the end of the day, which is like going to the cash register, and you're like, wow, I didn't really get done what I needed to get done. I didn't really do what I needed to do. And you know what the problem was? Just like it was when you went to the grocery store. You know going into it, you were hungry. And you know at the end of the day, you didn't get yourself in the right mindset to be able to do that. So I felt that that's sometimes the best way when I'm going through this and explaining it to people. Like, it's something that stays with you all day if you don't fill yourself up before you go into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, and it makes sense to turn my microphone on too.
Yeah, that helps out.
So then I guess the saying that don't go shopping when you're hungry is true, because you're going to end up spending more.
Absolutely.
Because you have a need there that you're trying to fill. Having that hunger and shopping at the same time is really a negative effect.
I would say to those if you can write comments right now to like tell us, like, do you think, like, does that happen to you? Maybe I'm just far-fetched, but like literally so many people I hear, or when I tell, like, don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry. I mean, it's just the easiest way to relate to real life.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. I mean, I'm hungry and I'm walking around and I go through the line and I look at everything in my basket and I'm going, I didn't come in for all that stuff, right? Like, so sometimes my wife will give me, well, not all the time, but she'll give me a list because I'll forget. Or if I don't have a list with me, then I get more things that I don't need. And then we come home and she said, why'd you come home with all this stuff? It's like, I don't know.
I think grocery shopping is such a way to relate things to life just by you saying the list. I mean, the list is so important. Like, why do you have a list? It's kind of like, well, if I don't have the list, I don't know what to get. And my chances of forgetting something are much higher, right? So it's the same thing in life. Like, why don't you have a daily regimen of what you're going to do that day? So then that way you don't forget anything, as well as you know everything you're supposed to get. But I don't know why we in life we don't feel like we need that, but we do just as much as we need one at the grocery store to achieve higher success.
So one thing, though, is that you have said on a number of occasions as well that many people wake up in the morning and they're already thinking about all of these things, these thoughts that they even are carrying through from the night or the day before, and it starts them off on the wrong position getting out of bed. They're already getting out of bed with a bad footing. So you just mentioned here about things that you read, things that you listen to, things that you watch. So are you saying that this could actually help reduce your anger over time? I think it's natural for us to become angry. It's just who we are as humans, right? It is. It's very easy. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about different types of anger and stress. There was an article that we were talking about once before that came out of this, it's called Everyday Health. And first of all, let's just, as a disclosure, I mean, I'm not a medical doctor. I mean, I'm not a psychoanalyst. Neither one of us are.
I did stay at a Holiday Inn.
I stayed at a La Quinta one time. I really liked that. That was good. But it does say, in this article, it says sometimes anger can be good for you if it's addressed quickly and expressed in a healthy way. And it says, in fact, anger may help some people think more rationally. So, however, unhealthy episodes of anger, so there's a word there, unhealthy episodes of anger, when you hold it in for long periods of time, turn into, or you turn it inward or explode in anger, can wreak havoc on your body. If you're prone to losing your temper, there are different ways for you to process your anger. So,
Couple things. I was just writing some notes down of what you said, that anger is just a form of communication, and dealt with or promoted the wrong way in anything is not good. Anger just has a way, because it's usually a negative is how we all put it into play. But anger is just a form of communication. And so what I've learned when I help people or have conversations and coach people up in this is you have to be able to learn how to ways to control it. Like you said, everybody's going to get angry at some point. Some of the stuff is silly. Like at a football game, I get mad at the team, or I used to get all like bent out of shape. Then you can get mad at your kids. You can get mad at your significant other. You can get mad at yourself. There's all these different forms of anger, but it's how you relate to it and putting it into a good position, or putting it into a perspective to allow you to be able to communicate it as well as accept it. And I think that a lot of people in this world, I know for sure more than 80% of people don't know how to handle anger, or they go into a victim mode that something took place to them, and then they react in a way that they just weren't prepared for because they didn't set themselves up. Like you mentioned, first thing in the morning, I know I'm going to have stress throughout the day. That's a given. Okay. I'm not special. I'm pretty sure you deal with stress throughout your day. I believe listeners on here are dealing stress throughout their day. They're dealing with challenges, but what they're not doing is setting themselves up to handle those stresses. So my best compliment is like, Brock, you never seem to get upset. Like, gosh, I thought for sure that would, like, wow, you got that going on. How do you handle? I handled it already first thing this morning. Like, whether it's prayer, whether it's mindset, whether it's affirmations, whether it's writing it down in my journal, whether it's listening to my motivation between Les Brown, Eric Thomas, Tony Robbins, all these are different individuals. So that way, when it happens, it's like, like something was going to happen. I didn't know what. Something was going to happen. I think that's the biggest flaw that we as society do, is we just don't spend enough time on our mental self and our mental abilities.
So what you just said earlier was that when you wake up in the morning, you know you're going to have stress.
Mm-hmm.
But so why do you want to even like think about that, to put that in your mind? Because I think that another point that we've said, on our calls, on our team calls, is that like we don't want to like get up in the morning and like go to the vending machine and go in there and get like more negativity, right? You don't go to the vending machine and says, I'm going to have a Kit Kat, I'm going to have a Snickers bar, and I'll have some negativity with that.
Right.
Let me get some of that.
Right.
It's not something that we get up. It's like, that's not what we want. That those are things that can occur in our day. So is it better to have a different mindset? You're looking at a beautiful picture and you have the ocean and you have all of these things that sets your mind in a really nice place, than looking at a lot of chaos. I mean, we don't really always know what causes anger, right? I mean, part of who we are is in our nature is that, but also it's if we don't get what we want, that also causes us to get into an anger issue, right? Doesn't it? It's like, so there's all these things that we want to have accomplished in our day. If we don't get that, then can make us angry.
Really, then it becomes like, well, why didn't you get what you wanted? What decisions did you do throughout the day to not get you to what you wanted to get at? Most of the time, everything's through the root. There's a root to everything. There's a root to evil. There's a root to whatever the situation may be. And to go back to you brought up a really good point of like, well, I don't want to deal with the situation of, what is it? You start your day with already thinking about stress. No, majority of people, when they wake up in a reactive position, as soon as they wake up, because they're reacting to yesterday instead of being proactive to being preventive of what can take place today. So we think of, oh gosh, I didn't get that done. I got to do this. I didn't do this. This person doesn't do this. I'm over. Majority of people have already overslept. Majority of people have already hit their alarm clock several times. And I'm not saying this to like everybody. Like, no, that's not me, Brock. I get it. Some of us don't hit some of us get up naturally, but majority of society. This is all majority of society out there, that they get up late. They're already behind the eight ball. And then when they think about yesterday, they're really behind, so they're reactive. my thought process is, how do I get myself ahead of the game? How do I get myself where my cup is already full, knowing that I'm going to have to pour it out at some point throughout the day? But you can't pour out anything if you don't have anything in there to begin with, right? So the stress and the anger, it's all how you control it, but I control it by using different strategies of getting myself in a positive mindset. Like today, I can't get upset over my 3-year-old because he hurt himself, and so he's at home. Can I get done everything I need to get done? No. I used to get very bent out of shape, upset, mad at everything. It's everybody else's fault because now you don't understand. I have to deal with my 3-year. No. Now it's like, it is what it is. I'm going to spend time with him. I'm going to enjoy that time with him. And then I'm going to set myself up for success by having people help me watch him he's at my parents' house now, as you know, so we can do this podcast. And I got 3 hours. I actually have 2 hours and 50 minutes that I calculated on how much time I have to be able to before my next thing. But I'm going to give everything I possibly have in that 2 hours and 50 minutes. I said, here's our podcast. This is what we got going on. This is what we're doing. And it's all about protecting your anger. It's going to happen. It's just setting yourself. I think you're spot on with your grocery list. I mean, a lot of people just don't have a list of what they're going to do during the day.
Listening to you here, I'm thinking about a couple of things. One is that obviously that sort of emotion that we express and that negative anger is an outward expression, right? Which is usually a knee-jerk reaction to things, right? It's an outward thing that we express. So you brought up an interesting point about with your son, Bryce. As an example, so last night we're sitting down with Isaac and we're going through his math, right?
Yeah.
Because he's in first grade and he's been doing much better. Mm-hmm. But sometimes he's not in the mood to do his math or his homework because he wants to go do other things and play. So that last night was a classic example, and it was just really about going through his tens, like 10, 20, 30, and then if we add one number to 10, it's 11, and if we take away 1 from 10, it's 9. We take away 10, whatever that number is. And I'm sitting there. Now, I know how easy it is. I know what 10 minus 10 is and 10 plus 10. For me, my reaction to him not getting it was like, Isaac, this is very simple. Like, why don't you know that, 1 plus 10 is 11? And he's just looking at me like, Daddy. And so my reaction was I just assumed that he would know it and he's not getting it. And so I had to step back and go, Isaac just he's not there yet. So why am I raising my sort of like my,
why am I getting so upset?
Why am I getting irritated because he's not getting it? But it's also part of it is in Spanish. So he understands the Spanish part of plus and minuses. But I think that I thought about that when you were talking about, our reaction. It's so easy for us to sort of look at ourselves when something that we have a certain outcome that isn't there for us. So then we get angry over it. And that, to me, it's like, it wasn't fair to Isaac, right? Was there anything that could have been accomplished from the way that I was dealing with it? And the answer is no, because I should have just been more patient with him, give him more time to understand it, because I do want him to grasp math, and even looking at it, it can be very simple. I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there who come home from work and all these things happen in their day, and their kids throw all these things down with them and go, I got to have this done before school tomorrow. And then you're trying to cook and you're trying to get everything clean, and it's like all these things are going on. So here's this thing on this article that we talked about earlier on this Everyday Health article. It says that angry outbursts put your heart at risk, because you were talking about this, that started all this conversation with us a couple of weeks ago about how anger affects our health, right? Mm-hmm. So it says most physically damaging is anger's effect on your cardiac health. It says in the 2 hours after an anger outburst, the chance of having a heart attack doubles. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, you're not, but basically this doctor, this Chris Adkin, MD, who teaches a clinical psychiatric at Wake Forest University, talked about that. There's something called repressed anger, which is expressed indirectly or goes to great lengths that you try to control it, and that is associated with heart disease. So, we know there's a lot of things that stress has on our body over time, just like, people who smoke can cause a lot of damage to our body. So smoking is something that you can see it, you can feel it, you can touch it, that could cause problems to our health. But stress and anger isn't something that you can pick up and hold and put on a table.
You can't buy it at Walmart.
No.
No.
You could go through Walmart and get angry.
Yes.
It's like someone took the last Twinkies and I'm just, or how many people got upset over the paper tissue issue, right? People listening, check this out. How many stores did you go to during all the stuff that we went through last year and you're upset because there wasn't any toilet paper in the aisle, right? I'm sure there's a lot of angry people out there.
Today, it's trying to find COVID tests. Like how many of you are like frustrated that you can't find a COVID test and they don't have them, and then you're trying to wait for the mail, and it's just like all this stuff builds up.
And we don't have any control over that.
No.
So
I had to do it with Bryce. I went to 7 stores, 7 to try, because they wouldn't let him back into daycare without having a test. And I was so frustrated that I'm getting mad at the daycare when all they're doing is doing their job to protect everybody in there. And I'm like, all right, Brock, this is silly. Like, there's no need to get upset. What you should be upset with is, why didn't you do this like 2 or 3 weeks ago? Why weren't you prepared to have a test sitting there in your house to make sure? And it goes back to decisions I made and not being prepared for certain things. So now I've forecasted a lot more. I have tests now. I didn't buy one test. I have several tests. I got the test from the government. Like, I got everything that I need now. So if we got test problems,
I don't want to go there with that conversation. You've got one from the government.
They're
all going to be positive. no matter what. Oh my goodness. All right.
Well, I want to talk about something that you said here, since we're going back and forth on something you brought. You talked about outward expressions of anger. I think there's also a worse one than outward expression, and that, needless to say, is inward expression. And the inward expression of anger, and why it's more dangerous, it's kind of like a jack-in-the-box. Because at any given point, you start spinning that jack-in-the-box around, you don't know when it's going to come out, and nor do the people around you, but it's the smallest little trigger that all of a sudden it's like, it erupts, and the people are like, usually it's your significant other, usually it's your child, usually it's a close friend or family, somebody at work, like, whoa, where did that come from? And it really came from something that happened like 9 months ago that you've been marinating on and putting inside your body and just holding on to it. And so I tell people, and I tell everybody on this, if you have one of those, and you're like, write it down. Write down the anger that you're feeling and put it in a journal, okay? Write it down, because it's going to help diffuse the situation, because at some point, if you don't communicate it, it will erupt. If you don't write it down, it will erupt, and it will be more explosive than it would be in an outward, because we're just manifesting it inside of us. And it's so important to be able to just let it loose, write it, communicate. I tell people all the time, especially in my relationship, like, one of the differences, my first marriage, and I'm not married again, but I've learned a lot in relationships now. But something that happens, it's, let's stop traffic, let's discuss it. And I make sure that Wendy knows, like, here's what made me upset. This is what got me a little frustrated with you, and it's important that I share it with you. Because if she does the same behavior patterns again and again, it's not her fault anymore. It's my fault, because I never communicated to her what was eating up with me inside. Now, if she completely does it over and over again, that's another conversation. That's another problem that you have in our relationship. But we've never had that, because I communicate. I say hey, this kind of bothered me, and here's how it made me feel. And I really would appreciate it if we kind of not go down that, like, do you understand where I'm coming from? And I don't think a lot of people do that.
I think that is extremely important, because there are things that we hold on to that we haven't resolved from our past. Mm-hmm. And they can also manifest themselves into something bigger over time if, one, we don't deal with them. Because then they can become a bigger monster. So I have a sort of an interesting example that someone had told me some time ago. And this came from someone that I know who's a pastor in a church. He was giving this example that he came home from a very long day, very stressful day, and he walked into the home, 5 o'clock, whatever time it was, and he saw his wife sitting at the table talking on the phone. And then he looked around the house. Dinner wasn't ready. Laundry wasn't done. The house was a mess. And he's like, I've been working all day, and I come home, the meal's not cooked, the dinner's not done, the laundry isn't done. He had to step back. His wife looked at him and said, you have no idea what my day has been like. No idea. His example was to say, look, we need to realize what someone else is going through in their lives before we jump on them because we aren't getting what we want. That was like a knee-jerk reaction of anger. So maybe another way to try to deal with that is to not put ourselves in like the first position. Is like we talk about giving, especially in our industry, in our business, because right away we want to get that listing. We're thinking about our commission. And maybe we're not even thinking about what's going on in that homeowner's life or the buyer's life because we want results right away, right? And so right away we put ourselves in a position like, well, I want this done. I want to take care of that. And it's not happening right now for me. And this is not good. Well, what's going on with your client? Maybe you need to have a different conversation with your client to find out what's going on in their lives and dig a little bit deeper before you start coming up with things that aren't even happening. Right?
Well, most people don't even in the real estate industry. How many times do I tell you guys, did you do your buyer consultation? Did you do your pre-qual with them and having a conversation before you even go to your listing appointment? Did you dive deeper into them? Because majority of the time we're a Pop-Tart agent and all we do is we're like, oh my gosh, I got a listing. I got to go to it. And you haven't even done your homework. You haven't even asked them the key ingredients and the questions. And then what happens when they don't go along with you, you get upset. And it's like, oh, it's their fault. They weren't ready. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. I'm like, whoa. You didn't even do half the beginning steps to be able to get them. I don't even know why you're going out there. You went out there and didn't even ask them that they don't want to buy this or sell this for another 9 months. Why the hell are you going out today? There's no need for that. It's your own. I use the word buffoon. I'm like, you're the buffoon that went out. You didn't even ask the right questions. And majority of agents are like that because they don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And that's why it's so important to be around people that either A, experienced, you're getting the knowledge, but you can save a lot of these anger problems. You could save yourself a lot of headache by just understanding some of the steps in the process they go through. And sometimes, guys, it's not going to happen. And they are going, no matter what you do, they're not going to, I had a client recently, I had it all teed up, it was ready to go. And then all of a sudden, there was like this little hiccup. There was this little issue that happened. And I got mad. I got upset. I didn't say it with them, but I just got upset in reference to, you took time away from my kids. All these things took place. And I just started getting bent out of shape. I'm like, Brock, why are you so upset? You had an opportunity to earn business today, which is more than maybe some people did. And the anger started to diffuse itself when I started to talk about it, which then goes into the realm of understanding, did I know something bad was going to happen today? And not to say that that was bad, but I was able to diffuse myself because I was mentally prepared because I've been reading, I've been writing, doing my affirmations, getting myself into check. So when ding, 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 anger's coming, it doesn't mean that I went off the handle. It means let me pause for a minute. Let me reflect on the entire situation and pull something good from it instead of go to victim mode and get all bent out of shape on it. And I think we have a lot of issues in the real estate industry because we don't want to look in the mirror. We want to blame everybody else. The inspector's fault, the title, it's the attorney, it's my client, it's the other agent. We also got to take ownership, guys. A lot of that stuff comes from us too. And how and getting angry is not going to help you out in any way.
It's interesting too, because anger triggers a lot of the other responses because it does, the article is talking about, it triggers depression. Mm-hmm. So there's things that can sort of elevate your anger through the day, the things that you haven't gotten resolved. So
think about that for depression. You brought up a key point with depression. Because what do people do the majority of the time when they go home? Long day, tough day, what do?
Poor me.
Poor me, and then what else do they pour?
Out on somebody else.
And what else do they go into the fridge to pour?
Oh, okay. So to overcome the depression is go to the bottle or something like that.
They go to a drink.
Right.
I need a glass of wine. I need to unwind with a glass of wine. I need to have a beer. I need to have a shot. And they're putting in depressant substance in their body after they're already depressed. And then they do that and they marinate on it. And then guess what? Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock at night. They fell asleep on the couch and they weren't even able to depress or decompress. That was the word I was looking for. Decompress what happened so it doesn't happen again, or to better themselves the next day. It's like, oh no, let me put this in my. And I did that a lot because my drinking was my mask. My drinking hid everything. So like and once you do it all the time, it was just like I was numb to emotion. And anger was, so I never got upset. I was the happy guy because I was numb all the time. And I just think what you brought up of the depression is such a key ingredient because of the decisions, once again, that we're making. And if we make right decisions, we might not have that situation take place. And none of this, guys, is easy. I'm telling you, it's not easy. Like, whoa, Brock, you don't understand. I'm not saying I understand your situation, but I get it because I did it for like 17 years of drinking. And it didn't get me in the position I needed to get in.
I was going through a program. It was through the National Association of Realtors. It was a course on being an expert in negotiations. That was the title of the class. I think it was like 16 hours or how many it was. It was an entire week, and you get your CE for all of that. But what was interesting that was always coming up, it wasn't so much about negotiating between this and that in a transaction. It was actually the way that you handle the things that are taking place in a transaction with the other side, right? With whoever you're co-brokering it. One of the things that the instructor talked about was when you're in a situation of you're trying to get something either for your client or you don't like what you're hearing, instead of just like picking up the phone and, the client doesn't want this, doesn't want that. It was, well, let's wait 24 hours. Mm-hmm. Before you just go at it or go at someone to try to get what you want done. Just take a break. Let's calm down. Wait 24 hours. Don't make a decision right away. Because you could get a phone call and someone says, hey, Brock, we looked at that house over there. It looks really good. But man, we walked through this house and we see all kinds of problems in it, all this other stuff. And like, did you like really like go through this house and before you listed it? And like now you put this thing on the market and like, what were you thinking? So you could say, well, you know what? If you don't like it, then get out.
Yep.
Now, is that really a good response? Because now you're kind of upset because they're coming after you personally because they're telling
your
you
ego's hurt.
Yeah, and you didn't do your job.
And the price that usually get it on the
exactly. Are you crazy?
Thinking? Yeah.
Part of that process of going through that program was just taking a step back and saying, you know what, don't respond right away, especially in text. How many times are we so quick to text our immediate thoughts? And then, because like once you click send, it goes. And it's like, you know what, I probably shouldn't have sent that. Mm-hmm. It's probably not a good idea. Or especially when you get a call from a client and they're very upset about something that you had, all the lights are on in the home again. I came home and all of this stuff and like, why did this happen?
And you blame somebody. You immediately, it wasn't me. It was the other agent. Like you go into a defense mechanism because you get bent out of shape because you're upset because they attacked your integrity, the intact of what you are. And like, well, what else are they going to do? Give you a high five that the lights are on and you left the house unlocked and the cat's outside? Like, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be like jumping for joy. We have to accept that, and they hired us. Our job is to make sure that the house is secure. And I've learned, it's like, you're absolutely right. I'm very sorry about that. I'm going to call the agent and see what we can do to fix this. Obviously, do you need me to come out there and take care of your cat? Like, what do you need me to do? And most of the time, no, it's fine. I just want to share with you what we walked into. And it's like, all right. And then, like, they're fine, but we don't go to defense mechanism. You take ownership and see how you can help them. And you diffuse the situation.
Right. And that also reminds me what you're talking about this week too. And part of that, like you were talking about, like the serenity prayer, because those are things that we can't control. I mean, we weren't there in the home during the showing, right? We didn't know that the lights were on or things like that happened. So for us to get angry over something that we didn't control, we can accept it, that that's what it is. Okay, so we'll just make sure when the next time when someone comes over that those things are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really important that I learned from that, even when dealing with other agents, is that the way that I react to them is really more important than what the outcome could be. Because if I turn around and have a negative attitude or tone with them, that's not going to help the process for my client, because who knows what their next response is going to be. Well, if that's your attitude, then I'm going to take my buyer and I'm going to go this way or go that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, because the one thing I learned even in this whole process in real estate is it's not so much about us, it's about bringing the two parties together for the end result of getting the home and getting it sold. And many times we put ourselves into the position that it's about us. But going back to the anger issue and talking about the effects of it, because we talked about a little bit a while ago about people who smoke, it can hurt your lungs, but also talks about that over time, if we don't handle stress in a certain way, it's going to cause us to be unhealthy down the road.
Mm-hmm. The smoking thing and the whole anger thing, I tell you, is why do most people continue to smoke even though it's bad for them? It's because they can't see inside their lungs. If they were physically able to see what their lungs look like, I guarantee it, they would stop. If their exposure of their face looked like their lungs, I guarantee you they would stop, but you can't see it. Just like you said, you can't go to the store and buy anger. You can't really go see anger. Sometimes anger's hidden so well, it'll hide behind a smile. You don't even know it. But they're so upset deep down inside them. They got so numb to anger because it goes into that internal anger situation that we talked about earlier, that it is just as bold as it could be, and he'll smile, sneak up right on you. I tell people all the time, listen, if you bring anger to work, he'll hang with you at lunch, he'll hang out with you at the water cooler, and he'll even get in the back seat again and drive all the way home. And it stays with you until you decide to handle it or have conversations or write it down or deal with it. Because anger, he'll hang out with you all day, come in the shower with you, brush your teeth, he'll come to dinner, he'll come everywhere with you because you're not allowing it to release itself. I challenge people, like, especially in the real estate industry, because we are a relationship business. And if you bring that anger from whatever's happening inside your house, your kids, your finances, whatever it might be, and take ownership of it and just recognize it, so that way you don't lose the next deal. Because like you said, Greg, you're absolutely right. Like, you could say the wrong thing to the wrong person and everybody's ego gets a little bit in their way. And it took me a while. Like, I used to get pissed when people used to tell me, this is an overpriced list and I can't believe you would even put this out there. Where'd you get these comps? Oh, you're telling me, where am I getting my comps? Let me just tell you, buddy, like, you go find these comps. You won't find these. Like, I'll get all bent out of shape. And now I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Let's take a look. This is what I have. What do you have? So we can try to work this thing out. Because not only do we have to get the buyer on the same page, but I got to get my seller on the same page. Maybe I missed one. Maybe I didn't see. Do you mind sharing me yours? Because I'll show you mine.
I really like that. It just made me think of something else that we deal with. And we were doing the circle prospecting, calling the neighborhood. And when we were doing that, you're the homeowner. And so I called you, and then right away you go, well, how'd you get my number?
Yep.
And so I'm trying to answer that. I'm like, oh, okay, how did I get his number? Like, giving you another response, and you're like, do you pay for that? It was interesting the way that you basically said to me, well, look, all you got to do is pivot to the next question. You understood that what it is, but instead of trying to hammer out, trying to answer it,
Right.
You just move on. And the way that I'm looking at it is this way. So instead of someone trying to retaliate against it's an overpriced listing or you don't have the comps, instead of just going back in the same path, just say, so what do you think? Do you like the property? What can we do about it? Or shift it. It's like you're
What
moving
numbers
away.
do you have?
It's
If
like
that's what you're talking
exactly. Or instead of standing there in the fire,
about.
trying to get the smoke out of it, just move to a different atmosphere or create a better atmosphere. Because one of the things for me that I think can diffuse anger, at least that's how I am, I kind of bring like maybe some laughter into it. It's like, you know what? I really appreciate you calling me today. What was going on with you today? And it's like, oh my goodness, man, I can't tell you what happened. Now, this whole conversation about the comps could just dissipate because you shifted the conversation into a better position. Many times it's something that we should work on when we're having conversations, even with a seller who's very upset that you called them. Like, why are you calling me like at 8 o'clock in the morning? You know, because your reaction is like, what am I going to say? And so I was actually doing my calls this morning. And so the one person I spoke to, he answered the phone. It's like, hello. I'm like, so how you doing this morning? I'm just, this is Greg, the local realtor. I just want to let you know that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow today, and we got 6 more days of winter, and that's why I'm calling you. And he started laughing. He goes, and he goes, so you just calling me about the weather report? And I go, well, I'd love to, but no, I really want to talk about your house. So I kind of like diffused it with that. Just going in there with maybe like a little bit better lighthearted. So what do you think about that?
You got to differentiate yourself when it comes time for that because, yeah, I mean, I listen to the first 3 words that they say when I make phone calls to see if they're angry, see if they're pissed off because now we had 27 people call them. And you got to just approach it and start running away and don't go to the next question. So are you interested in selling your house? I mean, he's already upset or she's already upset. So by having that Groundhog's Day approach is like you catch them off guard and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait, is that what you called me about? Well, and I loved how because you could do that in your tonality too. It's like, well, not really, but I just want to let you know that he did see a shadow.
Yeah, we saw a groundhog run around your backyard, so we wanted to call you about it. But if we get it sold, we'll take care of that problem for you. Right?
We know a rodent inspector, contractor.
Yeah, so I think that maybe like laughter and humor and all of those can, in some respects, sort of like, bring down the weight of the way that we look at things. But the other thing, too, I think about this in sometimes more of a different process is that you talked about before about carrying around, internalizing things that in our past, but is it sometimes because we have those things are not resolved? It's like forgiveness. If you're upset at someone for something that they did, it's better to try to go for that, get the forgiveness out of the way, to bring the storm down. I forgive you for what you did. Let's move on, instead of trying to keep hammering at it. But the other thing too I look at is that whether or not you are really working on having like peace and joy in your life. Because I think if you have more of those things, if you look at it from like a scale, you've got peace and joy, maybe humility, contentment, gratitude on one side of the scale. All these other things that you can't control that causes us to have anger and stress and worry. You talked about that before. The positive scale is going to go up. It can wash out all these other things that can cause anger. And that's how I see it.
No, you said a couple key things there that, and being with this podcast and you and I, which I really love, is our morals and our where we come from are very, very the same. And it's just who I've become as a person is like the power of prayer. Like sometimes the forgiveness aspect of thing might not be with you today. You're really upset. You don't understand what they did to me. And I get it. You can pray for peace. I say it all the time in our morning prayer that we do. Like, I need peace. I need that because I know I hold anger inside of me. Like I tell people all the time with my drinking, listen, my drinking changed, but my thinking hasn't. Like I'm still that thought process that goes inside my head. I'm a very selfish son of a bee. Like that's just who I am. But that's not going to change. What changes is my thought process of how to dissolve that. What changes is my prayer of saying like, God, I need some help on some peace today because I know I'm on thin ice. I didn't sleep very well with Bryce and he did this and my daughter was up and we had this and I got this going. I know what's going on with it. So the power of prayer, being able to recognize that and doing that has helped out tremendously in whatever that might be for you. And I know you and I are on the same page when it comes time for that stuff. But that forgiveness, you're absolutely right. If you don't let it go, it's like that anger. It's going to come with you at the store. It's going to come with you in the car. It is going to come with you everywhere you go until you just face that fear and face that and just say, okay, I got 2 options. I can carry it with me another day or I can continue to work on it to be better Or if not, you're going to have that ball of tightness in you. What I do is literally, no joke, the Serenity Prayer. I say it it's on my bookmarker. I have it everywhere. It's in my desk, places that I have it, because these are the spots where I need it. It's like, okay, Brock, can you really control it? Like, all right, that's probably not the best way. Like, I have these crazy conversations with myself. But guys, there's no police in your head. You can think whatever the hell you want to think. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. Like, there's no police in there. So if I want to say the Serenity Prayer 30 times, there's not, hey, you said that too many times today. You know?
The forgiveness thing is very important. I went to a conference many, many years ago. They talked about dealing with anger and dealing with being able to forgive others and forgive yourself. And the analogy was like, forgiveness is like breaking up hardened ground and loosening it up so things can grow, like the relationship can grow. But the other thing is that what you said, I think is important, is to deal with an issue right away. So it's like there's a saying that if your brother harms you, if your brother harms you or says something, that you shouldn't go to bed without getting it resolved, right? Don't go to bed angry. Try to resolve it if you can. Then it's not going to do really good for you and wake up in the morning because there it is. So I think that if there is a problem going on with someone in a relationship with your life, try to get it resolved as soon as you can and then move on. Because if you don't, it's not going to go away on its own. It isn't. And I know when I was working in the law firm, one thing that we always were very proactive about is that, especially with certain cases, if there was a problem that was happening, you're not going to like put it into the filing cabinet and then go back 30 days later and see what's in there, because once you open up that filing cabinet, that problem that you tried to ignore 30 days ago was now a monumental problem because you thought it was going to go away by itself. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that, resolve issues that need to be resolved if you can resolve them without bitter conflict. If both people are open to it, it's much better for you. And sometimes, if some people can accept it and some people can't, but I think that you can do the best that you can and say, you know what? It's not good for me to harbor these bad feelings and walk around with anger. So I forgive you, and I hope you do too, and we can move on.
And you also got to remember too, when it comes time for that, they might not be ready to forgive you, and that's okay too, because once again, you can't control their thought process. You can only control yours. And at night, when you put your head down, you did everything you possibly could do, and that's it. Like, you can't marinate on it and being like, wow, I know really she's not still happy, or my kids, or somebody at work, or my boss, or whatever, that my client, whatever it might be. You have to understand you can only control yourself. And if you let go and you forgive, that's it. Don't keep carrying it with you. And if they want to carry it with them, so be it. And you got to let it go, and you got to be able to move forward. Like, it's just one of those things that sometimes, like, especially in real estate, we get, like, our clients, like, I had one client got mad at me. What? And it's like, Brock, you're a coach. Like, how can anybody get mad at me? You know all the right words to say. No, that's just my ego getting in my way. People are going to get mad at me. They're not going to like everything I say to them. But when they text me negativity, goes back to, I don't respond with the text of negativity. It sounds like you're a little upset right now, and I completely understand. When's a good time for us to meet? Like, literally, no joke. That's what I say. I've had it happen twice on one of the deals that I've recently had. And they're taking, I don't know. I have to look at my schedule. I didn't talk to them for like 2 hours. They finally came back. Well, it's not that important. We don't really need to meet. I apologize. I was a little bent out of shape. It diffused itself by putting the ball back in the other person's court, and the boomerang, not having it come back, and just like letting it go, putting the ball in their court, diffusing it in the correct way, the best way possible. So that way, like you said, it's like, let's attack it. Let's not attack it, but like, by me not responding to them, not the answer. By me sending a negative text back to them, like, whoa, what do you mean you're mad at me? You don't understand all I did. Like, no, that's not the answer either. Ownership, validating, when could we meet? 9 out of 10 times, everybody will work itself out.
All right, that's good. I like it. Well, I think we've covered quite a lot here. I think that those that listening, hopefully you've got some stuff for that. We were going to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know we're people like these guys shift gears real quick, but there might be some people getting angry if they don't get their team won, which is also kind of an interesting subject. But
I've also dealt with anger because I'm a Jets fan, so I've just kind of gave up on them. So there's no anger there. But I have to tell you that the playoffs for the NFL, the best I've seen in a very, very long time, and I'm a very avid football watch, played football, coached football. I watch a lot of games, and I mean, not even having my team in it. I mean, it was a great playoff throughout the whole thing. And hats off to Ben Roethlisberger, hats off to Tom Brady, and just two great staples in the NFL that just really provided a good substance and just good people to have in the league. And they will be missed. I know a lot of the fan base will miss them, but I mean, hats off to the new people coming in between. What's his name? I can't even think of the quarterback for
the Rams.
Well, the Rams,
Stafford,
pretty
right.
cool from him going. I know why like people get so bent out of shape because he went to a different team. I mean, to me, that just shows what leadership is and what the different coaches. I say it all the time. Like, there's good quarterbacks all around. They're just not blended with the leadership. And I mean, hats off to him. I know you're from Michigan, so you must be all excited, or at least happy for him.
No, I am. I think that what you just said was interesting. I mean, there's people who are putting up on social media, that he left Detroit and all of that. But I look at it this way, and you can say what you want about, the Detroit Lions organization. But if you're in a car and no matter what you do, the car is never going to really run right, and it's never going to get you where you want to go. So what are your options? You can either stay in the car and die, or you get out of the car and get a better one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he made the right decision for him and his family, and I give him credit for that. And I look at it this way. If you can do what he did, then maybe you can say what you want to say. But I can't walk in his shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that ability. Why should we, throw, negativity out on someone who's done everything that he's done? I'll give you my prediction for the Super Bowl.
All right.
There's two teams that are going to play.
Yes.
One is out of Ohio and one is out of California, and one of those two are going to win. So that's my prediction.
And I just looked up Joe Burrow. Did you know that the Bengals literally 2 years ago were like a 2-win team or a 4-win team? And to be able to see them transform themselves, it just kind of is like any team. Like when I hear that, it's like, boy, we can turn this around. Like what I'm thinking, I do think the Rams are going to win. I think they got too many veterans on the team. When you're a rookie and you're entering into the Super Bowl, it's very challenging. So I think the Rams are going to win. It's going to be close, but they're going to win by a field goal because everybody's been winning by a field goal at the last second throughout the whole playoff. So the Rams win on this one, 27-24.
Ooh, yeah. I'm going to also take the Rams because I do like Stafford. I'm going with 31-21.
Okay.
Rams. I think they're going to get over.
What's our bet here so we can let their listeners know?
So if I win, you have to produce and edit our next podcast.
Oh boy, I'm in trouble.
And you'll do the introduction.
Right.
Right? That's the way to do it. I think this is going to wrap it up for us, for Brock and I on this podcast. We thank you all for being here, and we hope that you learned something. We try to be also entertaining on it. Our vision is to try to help people in this industry of real estate or anywhere else that you come from. And as Brock said last time, we love to hear responses from you as well, right? You can comment anywhere.
Yeah, it helps us out, gets us to know, and anything that you want us to talk about in the future with our next podcast. And, we're always looking to put things together because we want to make it relatable to life and real life situations, because that's what life's all about is overcoming this and working together. I love it. It's been great. It's been fun, man.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate it. Okay, so everyone out there, we appreciate you. Continue to help us grow with our podcast, and we want to thank all of those outside the United States that have been checking out our podcast. So that keeps growing. We're on like 4 different continents that are hearing us. We thank you for that. For Brock, Zevan, this is Greg Angelo with Raised on Real Estate. We wish you the best. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time. This has been a Planet One radio production.